Hi there and welcome to Apple World. You all know Katt Williams is prepared to F Steve Harvey up, and he isn't messed around with regards to his problem with him. These two men have been quarreling since God knows when, however. It seems as though they're going to take it to the roads and improvise out like genuine men since back in January Katt Williams went on Shannon Sharpe's Club Shade digital recording where he totally destroyed Steve Harvey and had him looking genuine awful. Steve Harvey attempted to applaud back at Katt Williams and cautioned Katt to keep his name out of his mouth yet. You all realize that Katt is as difficult really, he kept on joking Steve. Well, Uncle Steve has been battling for his life via online entertainment since that interview since individuals have been coming for him left and right. As a result of the Katt's assertions and allegations, he in the long run chose to establish the standard straight, and during a new show he called Katt out taking steps to pull up on Katt and toss hands with him. He likely didn't anticipate that Katt should answer yet, Katt did simply that. And he took steps to hop Steve, however you all realize that Katt is consistently going to put in any amount of work. In a real sense we saw him hurrying to show us how quick he in reality is, and he likewise spilled some hot tea on Steve, uncovering him as a misrepresentation and supposedly misleading his fans the entire time. So why precisely have these men been fighting and beefing, and are these two become old men truly going to have a muddled road battle between them? How about we truly separate it? I know that Katt's madly untidy meeting on Club Shea was asked far as possible back in January, around 9 months prior, so that's what you believe everyone would pass it at this point, right? I mean, sure, the meeting was more than 70 million perspectives, and Katt came hard for a ton of celebs. Yet hello, 9 months is quite a while in Hollywood. Who's the one to hold feelings of spite, right? Well, it seems as though Steve Harvey is most certainly holding that resentment. And truly, it's hard not to fault him since Katt went in on him. Katt wasn't keeping down when he tossed some serious shade at Steve Harvey during his Club Shea interview. He asserted that Steve's achievement wasn't just about difficult work like he asserted by Katt. Steve got to the top by supposedly being a straight-up hoodlum, a liar, and an expert controller, yet hang on, these is Katt words, not mine yet. This wasn't the first time that Katt attempted to spill the tea on Steve. He's been indicating for some time that Steve has an unfortunate behavior pattern of taking jokes from different entertainers, yet on Club Shea, he went as far as possible in saying Steve would take his jokes, let them stew for a couple of years, until individuals failed to remember that. And, at that point, haul them out of his shows, giving them a little remix and carry on like he came up with them on his own. Well, Katt brought the intensity and spilled some especially hot tea about Steve Harvey, getting down on him for purportedly deceiving his fans for years about his cloth to rich story. Now, if you've been staying aware of Steve, you've likely heard an entire SB tale about going from soil po to the top, including that scandalous recount him living in his vehicle and living in parking areas in light of the fact that he was unable to manage the cost of lease. However, as per Katt, while Steve could have battled with cash on occasion, the entire living in his vehicle story is somewhat of a stretch. Katt asserted that Steve was rarely that broke and called bees on the possibility that Steve was ever destitute. Far more detestable, he guaranteed that he needed to live in a vehicle and snooze parking garages, and that Steve took his story like Steve Harvey telling individuals he used to be destitute. That is my story. That is not his story. Steve Harvey was never destitute. When Mark Curry was visiting with him 25 years prior, he was making $3,000 a show in real money. What's more, completing 5 shows in 7 days. Did they simply recount to the tales, "This my gratitude to my better half"? I'm where I'm you. Said that about the primary spouse. You fail to remember that you let us know it was her. Then you went and hitched another person that have a similar outlook as a man. Like, what are you referring to? They want to revamp history. No doubt that was most certainly a frightful perused. However, why precisely Katt'd go off on Steve like that, and what precisely prompted their hamburger in any case? 'Cause there's no way this began of the blue. Not many individuals recollect this, however. Steve Harvey and Katt used to be embracing a positive outlook at the point when Katt initially begun on his satire venture. Now I will not venture to call them amigos or any such thing, yet they were most certainly strong. Steve got into the business way before Katt did, and he even provided Katt with his blessing during Katt's initial days in the business. For instance, at the 2005 Bet Satire Grants, Steve presented Katt in front of an audience for his presentation, and he had only beneficial comment. It's about Katt women and honorable men. If it's not too much trouble, welcome one of the most sultry youthful entertainers in the country today. I'm letting you know he got my stamp. This CA's high. Kindly put your hands together for Katt Williams. Great night, women and men of honor. What a delight to be here. Yet in 2008, the show Among Lowlife and Steve took a wild transform when they got into a strange hamburger over who was the better humorist. Katt was around here saying that he had more ability in his pinky finger than Steve, while Steve applauded back, reminding everybody that he has more achievement and have been in the game manner longer than Katt. Well, the pressure most certainly hit an edge of boiling over when they were both booked for a similar New Year's Eve show in Detroit, Michigan. Discuss a standoff years after the fact. Katt spilled some more tea, asserting that he wasn't even expected to be at that show at first. As per him, he was going to leave stand-up satire a log together, yet the coordinators asked him to perform on the grounds that they required his name to assist with selling those tickets. However, of course, the show didn't stop there. Katt said Steve became pungent about him being on the setup and began tossing conceal despite his good faith. Yet you all know that Steve has his very own brilliant mouth, and he tossed some shade back at Katt. He guaranteed that Katt was attempting to utilize a made-up hamburger between the two of them to advance the Detroit show, and Steve was not down for that, but rather that ain't got nothing to do with me, so this see a little hamburger thing that everyone need to begin, cuz you need to make a name for yourself that is cool. Do you, however, won't do it here. You won't be on notoriety. All Steve Harvey. Steve did his thing on that stage without tossing conceal or being subtle. However, when Katt took the stage, he hauled Steve for rottenness, and he hauled him hard, and it most likely didn't help that he took the primary stage. Following Steve, Katt's entire section was essentially only a broil meeting devoted to hauling Steve Harvey for rottenness. He went in on all that Steve's B-style parody, and then, at that point, Summit was merciless. You just must be there to observe this brutality firsthand. So for what reason Katt'd hold on to the resentment for such a long time, and for what reason did he come for Steve hard on Club Shay, now in the event that you believe that Katt could have had a shift in perspective or felt even a bit sorry for coming at Steve? Ridiculous. Reconsider. Katt isn't fretting about any of it. As a matter of fact, he multiplied down during his Club Shay appearance, gladly asserting that he simmered Steve so severely that Steve was practically compelled to hang up his mic. Resign from stand-up parody. What's more, Katt expressed every last bit of it with his full chest and stood by each and every word, except that is not all, since Katt additionally guaranteed that he was not just the humorist that Steve took from, in light of the fact that he said Steve took from Imprint Curry. Likewise, punch up and get to the level that it was a similar Steve that went to go watch Imprint Curry do his entire sitcom, and afterward took everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitkind where he the head and he wear a suit, and afterward he gets this high-top blur, making all people of color think he got the best setup in the business. And it's a man unit, as per him. Not just did Steve take Imprint's jokes, yet he took Imprint's film thought and pitched it to makers. And talking about Steve's acting vocation, Kay additionally hammered Steve for lying about the explanation he didn't view as a part of progress as an entertainer. Gracious, and recollect how Katt uncovered Steve for lying about being destitute. He additionally uncovered that at the time when Steve asserted to be destitute, he was making up to $3,000 for every show during his visit with Mark Curry some time ago. Steve Harvey went on these shows 5 times each week. What's more, I'ma let you do the mama. Well, Katt additionally raised the old contention between Steve and the late Bernie Mac, including an old meeting where Bernie had blamed Steve for attempting to stop his sack. Well, Bernie even talked about it in his interview with GQ, and as per reports, the magazine noticed quite a while prior that somebody purportedly addressing Harvey evidently called C11 chief Steven Soberg office and inquired him to rethink the projecting of Mama. The guest contended that Harvey was a more famous man. Bernie says, I found out about that. I was told about it. You know these individuals. Are you amazed? Tell me, are you truly amazed? It's consistently about him. So it sort of seems as though Katt was safeguarding different entertainers who he accepted to have been wounded by Steve, and he hauled Steve by his potato go head, also mustache. Yet for what reason did it take Steve so lengthy to answer, and for what reason does he need to battle Katt while Steve at first had scarcely any comments about Katt's words he applauded back several days prior, at a show where he took steps to put hands on Katt Williams? Subscribe Apple World for more videos.